So, spring has arrived and oh what a time. It's the season of rebirth, renewal, life, and busted off the door and made his way into our bedroom, cause all of that just meant sex. But this time it brings something special, something that you may not be ready for, and oh God knows I'm not ready for.
The flowers that bloom in the warmth of the sun are there to be loved by everyone.
But before embarking into a drastic journey to the void, I drifted off thinking about the arc that is about to be adapted, what it is and what it marked in the Berserk story, and how it felt, at least for me. Also, being this the week where Naruto ended, nostalgia and the scar of disappointment left by all that filler was quite present. All the memories. God damn it! So, if you're a Berserk fan, you probably already heard all the whining about what a train wreck the first season was, but it's understandable that many are choosing to keep some distance from this, because it's fucking bad.
We want to show something that's not like average. We wanted to show parts that are very action-oriented and very,
Dummy. So at the beginning of this arc, you can notice how the world takes a serious turn, changing from a tentacle-filled world with some fairies to a fairy-filled world with some tentacles. And if that isn't an elegant allegory, I don't know what it is. Also by this point, we are introduced to new characters, and some others start to define or redefine themselves. And the consequences of previous events are taking a serious toll on Guts. I mean, the poor guy, he's supposed to be in his 20s, and he looks like 40. At least girls like older guys. The point is, he looks old and tired, and with good reason. I mean, he's been through a lot.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my arm, even my fingers. The body I've lost. The comrades I've lost won't stop hurting. It's like they're all still there. You feel it too, don't you?
And in the last volumes, Guts is facing the burden of being the leader of a group he had no other choice but to put together, and is still trying to keep an emotional distance from them. You know those moments when you get so immersed in a story, when you connect with the characters? Well, seeing how the wall put between Guts and his new comrades gets destroyed, that type of growth that makes you connect with the characters, the type of growth that has been carefully crafted in a long set of chapters, that's the type of growth that makes a story good.
だから一人の人間のここっていうんじゃなくて、その時その時のなんて言うんでしょうかね、もうちょっと象徴的なものですね。なんかこういう立場に置かれた人間の、こんなそうなるとこんな精神状態になるんじゃないかとか、なんかそういうところだから具体的にこの人っていうのがあるわけじゃないんですよ。
This has been quite clear, and you can see that in the way he strategizes in the battlefield. But as we saw in the first season, they are leaving plenty of content out of it, which will make any character growth feel natural.
yeah, where you focus more on who Guts is and what he wants to be and where he wants to go, and that should be.
If that's so, then why did you show Guts in the tavern in the first episode? It doesn't make any sense, because now there isn't an apostle. There's no reason for him to be there unless he wants a drink, which brings to...
Yeah, where you focus more on who Guts is and...
So, did he came to save Isidro? Because we are talking about the guy that will use a kid as a fucking bait! So, by now you should know that in order to understand the fine gentleman Guts as a character, it's crucial to know about the Golden Age arc. And in order to understand of this gentleman in the Golden Age arc, you need to know about his childhood. Otherwise, how do you expect to share that beautiful smile with him? Come on. So, after you get that information, you realize that Guts isn't your average retracted cool character, but a very damaged one, a quite real one. So real that you can almost touch those big muscles. I mean. So we know that in order to understand Guts as a character, we need to reference the source or other works.
Our intent to put in those flashbacks was to be able to watch this series as a standalone series.
And they even have the nerve to say things like,
and actually, for episode 3 that's coming up, that's actually completely original.
what the fuck? Why? The worst part is that it isn't completely original. You just cut, paste, and twist parts of it. So they want this to be in a standalone experience, but it's clearly counting on us to have read the manga or seen the movies beforehand. And that's what's so difficult about adapting a long story like Berserk. There's no doubt that the original material has gone through narrative changes, which is inevitable for a series that has been publishing for so long. And these changes have been teased for a long time now. As Miura has stated before,
具体的にこういう作品を作ろうっていうところから生まれたわけじゃなくて、大体大学生の頃に、いろいろ好きなものを見てるうちにだんだんとこんなものがやりたいなっていうのがこう浮かんできて、でそれに合わせていろんなこう資料を漁ってみたり、アイデアを考えてみたりして、要は全部お金振りますみたいなことをやってるうちにできたもので、どっちかっていうとおとぎ話とか、ファンタジー映画ですね。大学の頃に僕の中のファンタジーの世界観が出来上がったのは高校大学ぐらいの頃なんですけど。
So it's understandable that with these changes, the door opens for new characters to come in, and having the purpose of providing information of what is happening to the world. But was Isma really necessary? I guess Miura has something planned for her, but was Isma really necessary? Or was it just for Guts to cast a shadow over Isma? So yeah, no story is perfect. And it's not unusual to find changes in the original material that may displease the fanbase, but it's less unusual to find a fanbase being displeased by seeing changes made into an adaptation by another creator team. Let's put another adaptation as an example. Oh my god, so fucking good! So, as you can tell, JoJo is getting a far better treatment than Berserk as an adaptation. Sure, they're skipping some arcs to get to the more popular ones, but what they adapt is faithful and try to capture what was considered to work only as a manga, and they do great at it. How fucking cool is that? Now, that was clearly intended to work within a panel, but since they kept all the iconic canons in the frame from the beginning of the adaptation, when this comes, it doesn't feel unnatural. Also, one of the things I envy the most from JoJo, it's the way they decided to adapt one arc per season. It's obvious that the staff has respect for the source material and the studio knows it sells, so everybody's happy. That fits great for a long-running manga that already has so much material. So, why fucking rush it? I mean, why didn't you adapt the Guardians of Desire arc for the first time? That would have been perfect. Or, if you were so inclined into continuing the story after the Golden Age arc, why not start the season with the Lost Children arc? That arc shows so much about Guts' character, and since this is
more on who Guts is and what he wants to be and where he wants to go.
And as I mentioned before, leaving the Lost Children arc makes Guts less relatable since
we focus more on who Guts is and
just why?
The vision that the director had, Shin Itagaki, that's the main part about how we decided to do this kind of hybrid of that and 3D CG.
Why do you trust so much on his vision? Also, didn't Miura say
本当なら全部、アニメのスタッフさんにお任せしようっていうアニメに置き換えた時のキャラクターの設定、それに関しては少しこう、脚本自体は毎回書き上がったものを修正を ここはこうしてくれここはこうしてくれっていうふうに修正を全部入れました。前話にわたって相当鬱陶しかったと思いますけどね。
We have talked to Miura sensei from the top of the production all the way to the voice recording.
So what happened now? You just don't care? Was there something else forcing you to do this? Were you worried that you couldn't afford a new IdolMaster if you didn't make an anime? Did you fall into a spiral of depression and said fuck it? I did. Were there other forces involved? Because the song is called Forces! And in this case for the director
Shin Itagaki,
or creative mind behind the adaptation, it seemed like he was trying to define his style or genre. I mean, just look at his previous works. So each step you take into this project is an exponential increase in difficulty to achieve a proper output. It's like entering a spiral. It's easy to say that being the adaptation or the original work, this should be judged separately and by their own merits. And that's truth. A lot happens behind the scenes, things that could have forced the adaptation to end up in this condition under those hands. So what can we do but to wait, to hope for the staff to get better at it, hope for another proper adaptation and to move on. Will we ever get a worthy adaptation for Berserk? Perhaps no. Will the second season get better? Maybe. Will the manga have a conclusion? Hard to say. This won't stop the frustration regarding this topic, and just like Miura may not know how to end up this manga, remember, there's no guidebook in life. It's all about learning.
Also, the Berserk manga, it's back.